Presentation is now being recorded. We want to thank you for joining us this morning for this webinar about scheduling. We hope that the information will be very useful as you continue to either work or pursue work in the BART construction environment. So this is our agenda for today's webinar. And I will introduce the first three topics. I'll tell you a little bit about small business support services, a little bit about the webinar, and then we'll hand it over to Vanessa Young, who is our presenter, who will cover the rest of the topics here to inform you about the 4-week look-ahead schedule and its relevance and importance. So for introductions, again, I am Harry Overstreet II. I'm your post-award project administrator on the Small Business Support Services team. If you have a contract with BART and you have some issues, feel free to reach out to me and we can try and help find a solution, whether it's within our team, our experienced engineers, or within BART management. We do commonly refer problems out to other areas, to BART management, issues that are beyond our scope. So please feel free to reach out to me. We ask that you mute yourself during the presentation to minimize background noises. And please feel free to use the chat to ask questions. And I will look at the chat and we'll try and work the questions in either between slides. And there's also a question and answer section at the back of the webinar. So please take note of your questions and we'll be happy to answer them. A little bit about the Small Business Support Services program. We have some excellent pre-award services designed to help you pursue and obtain BART work. Again, I am on the post-award side. Listed are some of the a few of the many areas that we can assist you with in helping you understand BART's process and procedures that are required for you to successfully complete a BART project. Now, this webinar is the third in a series of 4 about scheduling, and we've been very fortunate to have Emily Corporation, which is one of our subs, to help us prepare this information for this series. The first series talked about essential planning and working with the base schedule. Then we talked about the importance of the monthly updates. Today's workshop, of course, is about preparing the 4-week look-ahead schedule and the critical importance of that. And that'll be covered by Vanessa Young, or RE. And so now let me introduce Vanessa Young, and we are very happy to have her presenting for us today.
Thank you, Harry. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar on the 4-week look ahead. We hope that you get something out of it that will help you to manage your projects and have a better experience on your projects with BART. I am a senior project manager with the Allen Group, and I've been doing this work for a number of years, over 40 years to be exact. But before we get into that, it's Friday. I know you guys are glad it's Friday. I'm glad it's Friday. And I must do a few dad jokes. So why do golfers take an extra pair of socks? In case they get a hole in one. One more, okay? What did the janitor say when he jumped out the closet? Anybody know? Supplies. Okay, I got to do just one more. Indulge me one more. What kind of bear has no teeth? A gummy bear. All right. So I just had to do it Friday. You need to loosen up a little bit. You could go to the next slide, Harry. So I have managed many projects in the 40 years, and currently I'm, of course, working on BART projects. And my most recent project is the one listed first on this slide, which was a 34.5 kV cable replacement and fiber optic cable installation for the R line. That's the Richmond line. And the cost of that project was $54 million. And I am pointing that project out because we used the 4-week look ahead pretty extensively to manage that project. The contractor, the CM team, the designers, all of the BART stakeholders found that to be a very valuable tool to navigate through this project. And as a result, this project finished early. We had no quality issues, and we returned over $3 million back to BART. And so that was a great achievement, which I think the 4-week look ahead schedule was very instrumental in achieving that goal. You can go to the next slide, Gary. So in this webinar, our objective today is to help you to understand how important the 4-week look ahead schedule is as a tool to manage project resources, to proactively communicate schedule issues and concerns, and to identify opportunities to maintain and improve the project schedule, which results in a project that finishes on time. So we want you to understand the importance of the look ahead schedule for you contractor and subcontractors, and actually for the entire project team. Our viewpoint today is going to be from the contractor's point of view. We want you to understand how to measure progress with the look ahead schedule, and then also understand the importance of providing a accurate look ahead schedule in order to gain the BART approvals and support that you need to keep your project moving forward. You can go to the next slide, please. So the 4-week look ahead schedule, also called the 4-week work plan, is a contract requirement found in every BART construction contract. It's in the BART standard specifications, and you will find it in your specifications for your project in section 013216, construction progress schedules. And the paragraph that applies to the 4-week look ahead is on your screen, and it reads, a schedule in calendar time scale bar chart format depicting the contractor's intended work activities for the upcoming 4-week period shall be submitted on a weekly basis and shall be due on the first working day of each week. Each activity of 1 day or more in duration shall be indicated. This 4-week plan shall also show the previous week's activities leading into the upcoming 4-week period. So the 4-week look ahead is a living document. It is updated on a weekly basis and is used by the entire project team. The 4-week look ahead is a tool used by the contractor and BART stakeholders to identify upcoming field activities and resource requirements and support needed during the 4-week period. It is used by the contractor, subcontractors, the BART EICs, BART operations, BART OCR, the designers, the CM team, to name a few, to view a snapshot of the upcoming project activities and the participation or support that each of those individuals may need to provide. The 4-week look ahead is a more detailed look at the field activities shown on the progress schedule. Each field activity is broken down into its component activities. For example, your project schedule might show install duct bank from milepost X to milepost Y with a 6-week duration. On your 4-week look ahead, that activity will be broken down to show excavate trench 5 days, install bedding 2 days, set rebar cage 1 day, install conduit 3 days, pour concrete 1 day, cure concrete 7 days, backfill 5 days. So you will break down that activity that's shown as a bar of 6 weeks on your progress schedule into days on your 4-week look ahead. You can go to the next slide. So there are some key components that should be included in every 4-week look ahead, and they are listed here on this slide. There's a time scale bar chart format, which is often called a Gantt chart. It shows the month and the days of the week in that 4-week period. Also, you're going to show the contractors' intended work activities for the upcoming 4-week period. This will indicate the field activities performed the previous week, the current week, and 2 or 3 weeks following. So some people just show 2 additional weeks for 4 weeks. So you have the previous week is 1 week, the current week is 1 week, and then 2 weeks, 2 additional weeks would be 4 weeks. But a lot of people show the upcoming 3 weeks. So it's actually 5 weeks, but 1 week has already passed. So you may see it in that format. There should be a task activity ID number that corresponds to your field activity shown on the 4-week look ahead. So those task IDs are coming from your progress schedule. The field activities are identified by the corresponding task IDs from the project progress schedule. And why we do this is this helps us to track progress as it relates to the project schedule. So you can use the project schedule and the 4-week look ahead schedule to determine what your progress is for the project. You want to include your subcontractor or suppliers' names that are performing the work. And this helps you to keep track of who's going to be on site in that 4-week period, what resources you need as far as supplies or deliveries in that 4-week period. You can show those names. You want to see any activities that are going to be performed outside the normal shift work. So you need to identify those activities performed outside the normal work shift. And so those are the activities that are performed during the blanket or on weekends or at night. You want to identify those activities. And then in the comments section, you want to show any deviations such as sequence of work or timing or duration of activities that are different from what was shown in the progress schedule the last week. So if there's any changes in your comments section on that schedule, you're going to put the reason for those changes. It could be material delivery issues or access issues or anything like that. You want to put that in the comments. And so what this does, it helps everybody have a good idea of what has happened and what's going to happen in that 4-week period, a quick snapshot. You can go to the next slide, please. So the previous slide showed things that must be in the 4-week look ahead. This slide shows that there's some other helpful information that can be easily incorporated into the 4-week look ahead schedule that will help the contractor, the subcontractor, and BART stakeholders understand the planned activities and the support needed for those activities during the coming 4 weeks. And some of those additional items are all your site-specific work plans that affect the work. You can have a column that shows what those site-specific work plans, and this helps the contractor and subcontractor know specific site conditions as well as the BART operations and the EIC use that information to confirm the access to the BART site requirements. Another good thing to have is a pending submittals and RFI column. And this will help your designers. This will be a column that you would indicate submittals and RFIs that need to be approved prior to you doing the work. And this helps your designers prioritize which submittals and RFIs they need to review first. Because like on most projects, you're going to have a lot of, hopefully you don't have a lot of RFIs, but a lot of times you have a lot of RFIs and you have a lot of submittals, and the designer can't look at them all at the same time, because normally that's not the only project that he's providing services for. So if we put those RFIs and submittals in that pending column, and we looking at a field activity and you can see, okay, that activity is going to start next week and we've got an RFI outstanding, it will tell the designer, I need to answer that RFI. I need to provide the response so that work can continue. We also want to show the system access required for that particular work activity. System access request is required to access any BART facility. You cannot do work on a BART facility if you don't have a system access request approved. And so that would show in the comments, you would show if you need, for instance, a CAT BL, which is work during the blanket, during non-revenue work in the right of way, or you might have a CAT C, which is working in the yard in the track zone, or a CAT P behind a district approved physical barrier, or a CAT NA, which is an advisory where you're not working in the track zone. You might be working like in a parking lot or some area that there are no tracks. It's not in the track zone. And so I think we have done a seminar on those categories and doing a system access request, and you can look on YouTube and find that. But it's helpful if you would indicate on the 4-week look ahead schedule where this, which system access is required for the work that you're doing. Again, I don't know if I mentioned it when I first started, but this 4-week look ahead schedule is prepared by the contractor. So this is what the contractor would need to be putting on the 4-week look ahead. The other thing is any BART support needed. So if you need BART support, like you might need electricians because you're going into a traction power substation, or you might need comm because you're pulling some fiber and need to go into a train control room and set a fiber box, or you might be working during the blanket and need high rail support, or you might be doing some sort of testing and need BART to witness it. You want to indicate that on your 4-week look ahead schedule. And then lastly, if you will indicate your non-work days on the schedule, and that would be weekends if you're not working weekends, holidays, any Black Fridays, if there are any blanket cancellations. This will help, and also any company off days. If your company has a company-wide off day, say you're doing training for your company and no one will be available to work, you need to, it will be helpful to indicate that on the 4-week look ahead. Now, these things are not mandatory, but they are helpful information you can add to the 4-week look ahead schedule to help you and the project team have a good idea of the project resources needed over the next 4 weeks. Next, we're going to look at some example formats of the 4-week look ahead schedule. Harry, the next slide, please. So this is a 4-week look ahead schedule that was developed using some project management software. Most likely this is a P6 schedule, and it's fine to use that, but just keep in mind that you have to break down the activities into increments of a day or more. And that's what you see on this schedule. You will see, you can see the activity IDs in the far left. The middle shows your work activities. At the top is a time scale, that shows the month and the days, and it's in bar chart. Again, this is okay as long as the activities are broken down into components of 1 day or more. Next example on the next slide. This is a 4-week look ahead schedule using a Gantt chart format for utilizing Excel software. Again, you'll see the time scale across the top with the month and the days. You will see the activity IDs on the left. The first large column are your work activities. On this one, they've also used some color coding, and it tells you in the upper right what the color codes mean. And then they also have a comment section. The one we looked at before didn't have a comment section, but this has a comment section that gives some explanation to some of the activities that are shown. Next slide, please. And this example is using an Excel spreadsheet for the 4-week look ahead schedule. It also contains the same information, activity IDs. This one lists the sub in the trade column. It shows you what subs are involved. It shows the activities. There's a time scale with the month and the days of the week and the dates. And they also use some color coding in this one. So the takeaway for this is that the contractor should prepare the 4-week look-ahead schedule in a format that works best for your project. And make sure that all the basic elements that we previously discussed, the time scale, bar chart, activities, activity IDs, all of those elements are shown. So it's not like a prescriptive thing. You should use what works best for you. Next, we're going to look at the schedule that I used on my most recent project and show you some of the elements that were really helpful in helping our project to be successful. This 4-week look-ahead schedule was prepared using the Gantt chart format in Excel. As I mentioned before, it happens to be the one that we used successfully on the most recent project that I had, where we finished early and gave money back to the district. Again, it's not prescriptive, but it's something that works. And this was prepared by the contractor. So across the top, you can see the time scale bar chart. It's showing the months and the days. It also shows the previous week, the current week, and 3 weeks out. On this schedule, the weekends are indicated in the dark gray color. So you can see the weekends distinguished by the dark gray color. Now, working left to right, in that second column, you'll see the activity IDs that correspond to the activities to the right of the column to the right of the activity ID of the activities. So those activity IDs come straight from this project's progress schedule. And you'll know, even though there's like maybe one activity in the activity box, is covered by multiple activity IDs. The third column shows you the intended work activities. They're described in that column. A lot of times they're described as described on the progress schedule. The next column shows you the location of the work. Now, that's not mandatory that you show the location of the work, but it's important if your project is linear or it covers multiple locations. So if you're working in multiple places at one time, it's helpful to the project team if you would show a location item that shows where you're working. The sixth column shows who's performing the work, the general contractor or the subcontractor. And then that seventh column shows the work hours. It indicates activities outside of the normal shift. And those activities on this particular schedule, those are the activities that occur in the blanket. And on this project, we had early out, so we were able to start before the blanket actually dropped because our project was at the end of the line. And so the way the BART blanket drops, I hope you all know what the blanket is. The way the BART blanket drops is that those closest to the Y get released to work first, and those farthest away from the Y get released last. And so our project was near the yard, which was toward the end of the line. And so we would have been released really late. So we got early out. So that's indicated on this schedule. And it's in words, and it's also indicated by the color blue. So that tells you that work is at night and is during the blanket. The last column is the column that shows any comments, any deviations, any explanations. It also shows any system access request requirements. So there is a lot of information that's a one-stop shop on this schedule. Let's go to the next slide and continue our inspection of the 4-week look ahead. So the fifth column on this schedule, which is about a third of the way from the left, it shows you the site-specific work plans or SSWPs that affect the work. This is helpful to the contractor and subcontractor to remind you, what we said we were going to do, what restrictions are in place, what, safety items have to be included. It's also used by BART operations and BART EICs in planning their work. So they can look through the SSWP and they can tell what kind of access you need. The EICs keep a copy of the SSWP with them when they're inspecting the work. So when they're out there with you, so they'll know which SSP applies. So the next to the last two columns there show the RFIs and submittals, which I talked about before. This column will show you the outstanding RFIs and submittals for the project. In this particular case, there were none at this point in the schedule, so the columns are blank. But if there was an RFI or a submittal that had needed to be approved, it was shown in this column, and that would be a flag for the designers and the CM team to make sure to get that information to the contractor. So this helps the contractor to let the design team and the CM team know we need this information so we can proceed with the work. At the bottom of the page, you'll see where the EICs, that's the employee in charge, that's the BART like safety person, and BART support is shown. So it'll show you if you're going to need high rail vehicle operators, if you need EICs, whatever BART support is shown at the bottom. And there's also color coding there. So looking at these two slides, you can see that the 4-week look ahead schedule is a useful one-stop graphical information tool, which gives a snapshot of the project activities, the resource requirements, and potential issues that can be used to manage and track your project. Next slide, please. The 4-week look ahead schedule breaks down the project progress schedule activities into 1 day or more increments for the 4-week period. I think I explained this before. So the project schedule might show something like install, isolation, disconnect, switch, and give a duration of 6 weeks. And the 4-week look ahead schedule developed by the contractor with input from the subcontractor. So the contractor and subcontractor should be working with this together, developing this together so that we have accurate information. And they would show for that activity, install, isolation, disconnect, switch, would show all the component activities. So grade the slab, that might be one subcontractor. Setting the forms, that probably is another subcontractor. Installing the rebar, that's going to be another subcontractor. Pouring the concrete, that'd be a different subcontractor. Curing the concrete is just curing the concrete. There's no sub involved in that. That's just time that has to pass before you can get on the slab. And then setting the enclosure, that's probably another contractor. Installing the IDS could be a different contractor, etc. So it's important to show not only the durations, but who's actually doing the work. So the 4-week look ahead is a tool that shows how you're going to execute the work as it relates to the progress schedule, the contract schedule. So that project schedule should be in alignment, or the 4-week look ahead should be in alignment with the project schedule. The 4-week look ahead becomes a project record in collaboration with the inspector's daily reports to show the actual and project records. So the contractor and subs can use the 4-week look ahead to make sure that their IDRs are accurate. Really comes in handy when you're preparing change orders, to look to see when you work, to make sure it matches your IDR, and you can use that as documentation that perhaps a change is due. It's a two-way communication tool for the month report status and planning, and I call it my project cheat sheet. Is I can look at it and see what's going on with the project, and so in the contract, and I think that's what made it successful for the 34.5 kV project that we completed successfully, is because everybody used it as a guide, a tool to see where we were in the project. And the 4-week look ahead reflects the approved monthly schedule. It's important that the contractor shares the 4-week look-ahead schedule with the subcontractor and the project team. So the contractor owns the 4-week look-ahead schedule in as much as they prepare it, but it's a collaboration with the whole project team, particularly with the subcontractors, designers, and the CM team, as well as the BART stakeholders. Next slide, please. Reiterating that the 4-week look-ahead schedule is a tool utilized by the entire project team as stakeholders. It's prepared by the contractor, but the entire team uses it. The project team is counting and relying on the contractor and subcontractors to provide accurate information for the 4-week look-ahead. Contractors and subcontractors use this 4-week look-ahead schedule to schedule work and resources. BART operations uses it to track the types of access required and access requests. The BART employee in charge uses it to plan work assignments and locations. BART Office of Civil Rights uses it to schedule site visits. Designers use it to prioritize responses to RFIs and submittals. So we need buy-in from everybody on the schedule. And it's a communication tool that should be reviewed every week with the contractor. The CM team is going to review this every week with the contractor, and then it is presented at the weekly progress meeting. Providing accurate information on the 4-week look ahead facilitates the contractor's ability to plan resources, gain access to BART facilities, and get approvals that maintain forward progress of your project. Next slide. So all of the things that we talked about, they are not prescriptive, but they are, if you look in the spec, they're contained in the specification. There's not like a checklist. I don't like checklists personally, but I'd offer you some best practices to use when developing your 4-week look-ahead schedule. Weekly review it with the owner and CM team and your subcontractors prior to distributing it. So our practice was to have a little like half-hour meeting, maybe Thursday before the 4-week look-ahead schedule is distributed. Just have a little half-hour meeting between the contractor and the CM team and kind of go through the 4-week look with what was going to be presented in the 4-week look-ahead schedule. And by doing that, we could identify any missing work activities. We could see where there need to be some kind of schedule recovery if something slipped. We also reviewed this daily. The contractor should review it daily, and they did on the project that that I was referring to, as well as the project. The CM team reviewed it daily. The inspectors used it to track and see who was on site, and we could quickly see if there were any issues. We were able to proactively react and make up progress during the project. And because it's not possible to make up time at the end of the project. You can't wait to the end of the project to try and make up time, because at that point you're late. So it's gonna come in late. But if you use this 4-week look ahead schedule, contractors and subcontractors as a tool, you can use it proactively to react to any changes that or slippages or opportunities to move the schedule ahead, to continue your forward progress, which makes the last bullet extremely important, is to notify the owner, the CM team, and the subcontractors if any of the activities in the 4-week look ahead slip. That way you can, fix it. You can react to it and recover from it in a timely manner. Next slide. So in summary, The 4-week look ahead is a useful tool for multiple stakeholders. It's used by the entire project team to maintain forward progress of a project. And that's what we want. We want to keep moving forward. Whatever our challenges or issues are, we want to be able to continue to move forward. The 4-week look ahead schedule recognizes past, current, and future work activities for the time period. And this is a really important bullet that's coming up next. The 4-week look ahead is not a regurgitation of the monthly progress schedule. It's a more detailed view of a segment in time from the monthly progress schedule. It allows the contractor and the project team to make up schedule slippage as it occurs, not at the end of the project. The project team and stakeholders may use the 4-week look-ahead schedule to plan and monitor resources, including system access requests, site-specific work plans, RFIs, submittals, and any BART support. It's a really great resource planner. And daily review of the 4-week look-ahead schedule facilitates the opportunity to identify issues early and perform schedule recovery as needed. And this is for the whole team, not just the contractor, but every member of the team may need to do some schedule recovery. So that is the conclusion of this presentation. I hope your takeaway is that you will look at the 4-week look ahead more closely and use it as a tool to successfully complete your project. Are there any questions? Harry, do you see any questions? Don't be afraid.
Yeah, please, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I see one in the chat about does the 4-week look ahead show the actual linkages between the various tasks and work activities?
No, it's not a CPM schedule. No, it's a bar chart format. So it doesn't show that.
Okay. One thing that came to mind personally, I guess you would also show permits and would permits and applications for permits be shown in the 4-week schedule?
Not necessarily. I mean, you might show that in the note if you're like, if you can't do some work because you're waiting on a permit, you might show that in your comment section. Anything that affects you completing the work, it's okay to put that in the comment section, but that wouldn't be like a bar on the chart.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else from our group that has any questions?
Yeah,
please feel free.
Hi, Harry. Vanessa, good morning. This is Luis Paez. I just wanted, it's not so much a question, but just a statement perhaps that the 4-week look ahead for a subcontractor, I think is an excellent way to stay abreast of what your general contractor is planning and telling the owner and the rest of the team about different scopes of work that are occurring. So let's say you're a plumber and you see yourself on the 4-week look ahead, perhaps you had not been aware of that. It'll give you an opportunity to coordinate and communicate with the GC and plan properly. That's my only comment. Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a question about the recording being available. I'd like to let everybody know that the recording will be saved on our YouTube channel, where we store all of our webinars. So there's a lot of great information there, and I can put that link in the chat, and I can also send out the presentation and a link also to anybody who'd like.
I have a question of the group. How many have prepared a 4-week look ahead schedule? Raise your hand, please. I see Pradamesh.
Yeah, and Kofi.
Yes.
You prepared one, and Kofi? Good.
And Rob Kelly with Perimeter.
Awesome.
See Ramirez.
Awesome.
All right. Great.
So I hope this was a useful perspective for you. Those of you who are preparing the 4-week look aheads. Any questions?
Well, I think if that's if that's it, I guess that will conclude our webinar for the morning. Is there no other questions or any other comments? We do want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. And again, this will be available on our YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, and we're here to assist you. If you have any issues with your projects, please reach out. We have a number of great engineers like Vanessa Young who have extensive BART experience who are able to try and help you successfully complete your project. That's what we want you to do. Our mission is for you to successfully complete your project and return to BART and continue to work with BART. So thank you again. And I guess this will conclude our webinar for today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. This was really great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.